Because Scott Morrison is ostensibly a religious man, I will take from St. Francis, whose quote on leadership is ingrained in my mind, despite not paying any attention at all in scripture. So I don't know how it slipped his. The deeds you do may be the only sermon some persons will hear today. There's another man of faith who would not only have appreciated, but absorbed that message, and that was the Prime Minister in waiting that Australia, or rather the Murdoch press, turned down for Scott Morrison. As leader of the AMWU, Bill Shorten coordinated the rescue effort for Beaconsfield and was so flawless in a time of crisis that even Murdoch, the man that denied him the office of Prime Minister, called for him to be Prime Minister. Kevin Rudd, another man of faith, helps Korean students who couldn't speak English evacuate their building during the Queensland floods. He waded knee-deep through water carrying their bags on his head. He was cut by passing debris and received a foot infection as a result, clearly adhering to Matthew 20:26 that whoever wants to be leader among you must be your servant. During the Black Saturday fires, Kevin Rudd immediately suspended Parliament, met with bushfire victims, consoled them, and then utilised this nation's military to assist them. Scott Morrison, during bushfires so damaging and ongoing that no one has had time to name them yet, went on holiday. In secret. When he was caught, he then lied about coming home early, and when he did, his immediate instinct was to get a photo op with the victims of the bushfire. When they were none too pleased with his presence and asking for his help, he both figuratively and literally turned his back on them. This is not a partisan attack. As much as I didn't agree or like Malcolm Turnbull, I could not imagine him taking the course of action, or rather gross inaction, the professional sack of shit Scott Morrison has been taking during this crisis. Morrison has not. He does not, nor has he ever possessed the instinct to elevate anyone other than himself. A bureaucratic parasite that has been promoted his entire professional life not by competency, but by competency in writing contracts, where if they want to expel this creature from their colon, they have no choice but to shoot him further up. He is an opportunist, and a boring one at that.
How are you?
I'm only shaking your hand if you give more funding to our RFS. So many people here have lost their homes.
We need some vets.
We need more help.
Can you honestly say that after the bushfire victims paid for him to do this, while they were doing this, after accomplishing the distinguished honour of possessing the lowest parliamentary sitting time for a Prime Minister in Australian history, he decided he earned a holiday on their dime? After all, his last holiday was in June. While Scott Morrison was doing shuckers in Hawaii, Anthony Albanese was shacking up with firefighters on the front line, forking out his own money for them, feeding them, who could not afford to feed themselves after taking months off of work to protect their own communities. As a result, Albanese called for an economic compensation scheme to support these firefighters that was later swanned in by Scott Morrison, who hogged all the undeserved glory for himself. That was not Scott's idea. That was Mr. Albanese's. Why did he have that idea? Because he was there. He saw the real quiet Australians working round the clock to put out Scott Morrison's fires, and yes, they are his fires. Everything from ignoring emergency services officers for years, to complete inaction on climate change, to unconscionable water corruption stemming from his government. He seemed to expect that it would be their pleasure to put out his fires, for free, while they paid him to do what he does best, nothing. Lavishly. When news outlets in Bolivia and Somalia are condemning the leadership of Australia and their words are holding weight, you know that these are, to quote Joe Rogan's Netflix special, strange times. Particularly when those articles were written before this.
Bye. What about the people who are dead now, Mr. Prime Minister? What about the people who have nowhere to live?
You're not welcome, you fuckwit!
Well done, Australia. Your elected Prime Minister in all his magnificent glory. A suburban Dad Nero who plays backyard cricket in his Kirribilli mansion as the nation burns. A public servant that demands to be served by the public to the baffling extent that he will allow their friends and family to die, and if they don't feel like shaking his hand after he's reduced their possessions to ash, which he sees as a photo op, he has the gall to be offended by their actions. Instead of the man who had plans to build a water bomber fleet, there it is, black and white, March of last year. You chose a man who is so despised by the people who protect your community that they give him this reception.
Okay, for a couple.
he would have been less hesitant to shake the hand of a leper. I don't know an image that could possibly convey this message more succinctly. Scott Morrison has lost any moral authority he once ostensibly possessed to lead. I hope Quiet Australia is lost for words, though I'm not holding my breath. So to help them get the picture, send these images that I have posted on my Facebook now to any Liberal voter you know. This was Scott Morrison's Christmas message. This was Anthony Albanese's. This is what Anthony Albanese spent his taxpayer money on. This is what Scott Morrison spent his on. While the nation was on fire, Scott Morrison was getting fired up about Australia's chances in the cricket, inviting the team over to his Kirribilli mansion to take an Insta-pic. This was the team Anthony Albanese decided to cheer on. Thus, this is the reception that Anthony Albanese receives from some of Australia's bravest heroes. This is what they think of Scott Morrison.
You from the media, tell the Prime Minister to go and get from Nelligan. We really enjoy doing this head. I've lost 7 houses already in Nelligan. I'm not going to lose any more, you head.
17 people dead, 1,000 homes destroyed, more than 14 million acres up in smoke, and 500 million native animals incinerated, and that number will only increase. Your Majesty, you fired Gough Whitlam for less than that. After you dismissed him, you made Malcolm Fraser caretaker Prime Minister. And seeing as Anthony Albanese is already acting as such, can we just make it official? Can we get more people looking at these comparative images by getting the hashtag trending, hashtag Dear Your Majesty? Because if Gough Whitlam was sacked for not getting the supply bill through Senate, surely Scott Morrison should be sacked for not supplying the firefighters. Get this hashtag trending so that any quiet Australians in the periphery of your life might stumble across these pictures. See if they think his support of the Sharkies still outweighs his complete and utter lack of support for the Fireys. And if Scott Morrison ever tries to shake your hand, please allow this man, who is a true leader, to lead you by example.
I don't really want to say.
Call for his sacking now by contacting the royal family, and donate generously to the Animal Rescue Collective.
Stand down now. You don't deserve to govern. You knew this was coming. It's been coming for a few years. You've been totally ignorant of it. And now we're wearing your problems.
Tell the PM to come and meet me. Paul Parker from Nelligan. Meet you any day, pal.